Take a look at the globalist warmonger donors backing our opponents. That's because they're candidates of war. I am the president who delivers peace, and it's peace through strength. There was a reason we had no conflict. There was a reason we didn't get into wars, because other countries respected us.
There's a common misconception that Donald Trump, a man who ran on a platform of bombing the hell out of ISIS and killing the families of alleged terrorists, is somehow a peace candidate.
I'm not playing on fears. I'm playing on common sense. We have a problem. The World Trade Center came down. And by the way, speaking of coming down, they put their families on airplanes a couple of days before, sent them back to Saudi Arabia for the most part. Those wives knew exactly what was going to happen. And those wives went home to watch their husbands knock down the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and wherever the third plane was going, except we had some very, very brave passengers wherever that third plane was going. Those wives knew exactly what was happening.
You mentioned the families, going after the families. What does that mean? How
well,
would
I would
work?
go after, well, at least I would certainly go after the wives who absolutely knew what was happening. And I guess your definition of what I do, I'm going to leave that to your imagination.
Seeing as how Trump is apparently willing to play into our collective amnesia about his foreign policy, let's take a look back and see just how peaceful it actually was.
President Trump has made clear that he will aggressively target terror groups like ISIS and al-Qaeda. On Sunday in Yemen, U.S. Special Forces assaulted an al-Qaeda compound. It was the first such raid authorized by the new president. But details of the planning and the execution of the raid have come under scrutiny this week.
One of the first actions carried out by President Trump was personally authorizing a U.S. raid in Yemen, targeting computer materials containing possible future terror plots. When all was said and done, a school, health facility, and mosque were damaged, and 8 women and 7 children were dead. Among these casualties was an 8-year-old girl who took a bullet to the neck and lasted a grueling 2 hours before bleeding out. Her 16-year-old brother and his father were also both killed in separate U.S. drone strikes back in 2011 under the Obama administration. All 3 were U.S. citizens, and only the father was ever accused, never convicted, of terrorism. By the end of 2017, aerial strikes inside Yemen were up by 21 from the previous year, standing at 131. The following year, the Trump administration bolstered funding and weapons to the oppressive dictatorship of Saudi Arabia to allow them to expand their campaign in Yemen. In Pakistan, drone strikes continued, even if sporadically. The Bureau of Investigative Journalism counted 5 U.S. attacks inside the country as of 2017, and at least 1 drone strike as of mid-2018.
But from my understanding, speaking to more than 24 people displaced in the area where the U.S. is certainly on the record conducting airstrikes, civilians are being killed in the campaign that the U.S. is carrying out there. And that campaign has tripled under the Trump administration.
In Somalia, the Trump administration doubled the number of U.S. airstrikes in 2017 compared to those seen during 2016. While also increasing the Obama-era number of U.S. forces there, 5 attacks inside Somalia killed or injured 50 civilians in 2017.
The United States at the weekend said it carried out its first airstrike in Libya since Donald Trump's inauguration.
In Libya, Trump also maintained a U.S. presence following Obama's bloody overthrow of Gaddafi in 2011. September 2017 saw Trump's first airstrike in Libya, but certainly not his last. By March of 2018, Trump had launched 8 confirmed airstrikes inside Libya.
I don't want to kill 10 million people. I have plans on Afghanistan that if I wanted to win that war, Afghanistan would be wiped off the face of the earth. It would be gone. It would be over literally in 10 days. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to go that route.
In Afghanistan, by September 2017, the U.S. military under Trump had launched 751 airstrikes, the highest total for any month in 7 years of military action in the country. 2 months later, Trump followed in the footsteps of Barack Obama by ordering his own surge of U.S. troops into the mineral-rich country.
We have incredible leaders in the military, and we have incredible military, and we are very proud of them. And this was another very, very successful mission.
Wow, a Fox News alert now, and you heard about this. 36 ISIS militants taken out by a bomb known as the mother of all bombs, and President Trump calling it a success.
Also in Afghanistan, Trump, the peace candidate, dropped America's largest non-nuclear bomb on the country. And although Bush sent them into Iraq and Obama sent them into Syria, Trump never bothered pulling US troops out of either country during his term. In fact, shortly after taking office, Trump launched 59 Tomahawk missiles into Syria and made numerous comments about how US troops are only in the country to steal their resources.
We're keeping the oil. We have the oil. The oil is secure. We left troops behind only for the oil.
Trump killed the Iran nuclear deal, openly assassinated an Iranian general, pushed for a US invasion of oil-rich Venezuela, and participated in a failed coup attempt there, boosted defense spending, labeled Edward Snowden and Chelsea Manning as traitors, pardoned US troops accused of brutal war crimes in Iraq, allowed US troops to use toxic munitions in Syria and Iraq, revoked a policy requiring US intelligence agencies to publish the number of civilians killed in drone strikes outside of war zones, gave a speech to the CIA and vowed greater support for America's 16 intelligence agencies than they had received from any other president, so much for fighting the deep state, ordered the creation of a new low-yield nuclear warhead, conducted provocative military drills in the Black Sea, signed an executive order to keep the Guantanamo Bay prison camp open, and claimed that torture absolutely works.
During one of the debates, they asked Lying Ted about waterboarding, and he didn't want to answer because it was a very, it was a question, what do you think about waterboarding? And he didn't want to get involved because he was afraid it wasn't politically correct. And he gave a nothing answer, a weak, pathetic answer like we always give. They asked me, what do you think about waterboarding, Mr. Trump? I said, I love it. I love it. I think it's great. And I said, the only thing is we should make it much tougher than waterboarding. And if you don't think it works, folks, you're wrong.
Did Trump successfully start a war? Not quite. But he certainly continued the Bush-era wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and the Obama-era wars in those places, plus Syria, Somalia, and Yemen. And he certainly didn't improve U.S. relations with countries like Iran and Venezuela. Trump might not be a Bush or a Clinton, but his behavior while in office has made it very clear he won't be a massive departure from their views, especially when it comes to an aggressive foreign policy.